Welcome to this explainer for the Foundry by Forge College. Today, we're going to draft the literal master blueprint for your API security. Because let's be real, if you've ever tried to scale a Web3 app, you already know that keeping your backend from just completely melting under heavy traffic is a massive priority. So as part of our broader track on Web2 integration and API development on Solana, we're going to build your defenses using what I like to call a strict but totally fair nightclub bouncer analogy. Securing and throttling those endpoints is absolutely essential. Okay, let's take a quick look at the schematic for today. We'll be hitting 1. The Solana traffic jam. 2. Know your API endpoints. 3. Designing the throttling rules. 4. Building the middleware. 5. Testing your API bouncer. And finally, 6. Securing the blueprint. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The Solana traffic jam. From theory to blueprint. If you were hanging out with us for our last lesson on the foundations of rate limiting and API security, you'll remember we talked about rate limiting patterns pretty abstractly. Now we're taking those concepts and bringing them into the real world with concrete, actionable design choices.
To make this actually work, we first need to talk about attribution. I want you to think of attribution as the bouncer checking IDs at the door of our club. When requests hit your API, you absolutely need to know who's making them. IP addresses? Those are your random walk-ins off the street. API keys? Now those are your VIPs on the guest list. You have to be able to deterministically map your rate limits to these real actors, because without that, your rules are honestly completely useless. Just to quickly recap our two main crowd control strategies, we've got the token bucket and the sliding window. Token buckets are basically like VIP drink tickets. You save them up, you cash them in fast for a short burst of activity, though, your backend might get a bit of a hangover if everyone cashes in at the exact same time. Sliding windows are different. They're like the bouncer keeping a steady, rolling general admission door count. It smooths out those short-term spikes to ensure a nice, steady flow of traffic without totally overwhelming the dance floor. Moving on to Section 2. Know your API endpoints. Mapping the club doors. Because as it turns out, not all Solana API traffic acts the same. We can't just slap one blanket rule across the whole backend. We need different doors for different traffic. Let's break down this architectural matrix. Notice how we're matching the traffic type with a specific policy. A public read RPC, like, say, get balance. That's high volume but highly cacheable. So we send them to the general admission door with a per IP and global sliding window policy. Pretty standard. But an authenticated user RPC, like fetching an account's history, that's moderate traffic tied directly to an API key, they head straight to the VIP door with a per API key token bucket. And what about heavy state-changing RPCs? They might be low traffic, but man, they have high impact. So they get the absolute strictest token bucket possible, rejecting anything over the limit immediately. Section 3. Designing the throttling rules, writing the bouncer's rulebook. So our endpoints are mapped and the doors are labeled. Now we have to design the actual enforcement plan to really lock down our backend capacity. Here is a crucial point. Your attribution has to be completely deterministic. If a user sends HTTP headers with weird spaces, or they mix uppercase and lowercase letters just to be sneaky, you must normalize them. If you don't clean up that data before checking it, you better believe clever users will figure out how to disguise their ID, slip right past the bouncer, and hammer you with unlimited requests. And where does our bouncer actually stand? Applying limits at multiple enforcement points is key here. You've got your edge proxy for coarse, brute force protection. You've got your API gateway handling the routing, and then you have your application middleware for the fine-grained business logic policies. For the rest of this explainer, we are zooming in on building out that application middleware layer. Section 4, building the middleware, wiring the blueprint. Let's get to the fun part. We're going to see how all of this theory actually builds into a real Node.js Express server using an in-memory LRU cache. This is where the blueprint becomes reality. By following 4 simple wiring steps, we create a deterministic script that translates those abstract throttling policies into executable code. Step 1. We initialize our basic server with Node, Express, and our cache. Step 2. We set up distinct routes, public and off, to represent our different traffic types. Step 3, we build out that attribution helper to extract and normalize the headers. And step 4, we wire in the try-take logic to actually pull tokens out of the bucket. This routing logic acts as the actual brain of our bouncer. It instantly decides which rules apply based on the endpoint requested and the ID provided. Hit the auth route with the key, boom, token bucket. Hit the public route, sliding window.
Show up with no ID at all, you're treated as anonymous and slapped with the absolute strictest IP-based limits we've got. But hey, a good bouncer doesn't just kick you out into the curve without warning. A good bouncer tells you exactly how many drink tickets you have left. This is why your middleware has to set response headers, like rate limit, remaining, and reset. This exposes observability. It signals the exact remaining quota back to the client so their app can gracefully slow down before it gets rejected.
Section 5, testing your API bouncer, simulating the rush. Our code is all wired up. So let's fire up the terminal, split the screen, and hit the server with some rapid requests using curl or Apache Bench, just to simulate that Friday night rush.
You're going to want to watch those server logs incredibly closely until you see this glorious number, the 429 too many request status code. When you see that 429 pop up, you know your logic works and the rate limits are successfully kicking in to protect you. Now, to be absolutely certain, you should run these 4 concrete validation checks against your test harness. Check 1. Verify normal single requests actually pass with a 200 status. Check 2. Blast the auth route to prove that the token bucket actually empties. Check 3. Stream anonymous traffic to prove the sliding window catches it. And check 4. Fake multiple IPs to prove your global safety quota prevents total backend saturation. Once you've done this, you've proved your rules work under pressure. Of course, it's really important to ask, how robust is this setup actually? Like, what happens if a malicious actor tries to trick the system by sending garbage data or just completely making up a fake API key? Well, because of how we designed it, our bouncer does not mess around. Invalid keys instantly map to a distinct invalid key bucket that rejects them almost immediately. Any malformed credential automatically falls back to the strictest possible anonymous policy. 0 loopholes. Section 6. Securing the blueprint, next steps. As we wrap up this explainer, let's just review the core takeaways from our engineering schematic. These are foundational concepts you're going to see echoed across all the more advanced courses you take in our programs.
Here are those core principles again. Number 1, choose your attribution carefully. Use keys for precision and IPs as a pragmatic fallback. 2, enforce your limits at multiple layers. 3, always expose observability via headers and logs. And 4, purposefully match your architectural patterns, like token buckets for authenticated bursts and sliding windows for public reads. These principles guarantee your Solana API is highly reliable for power users, while still playing fair with occasional public traffic.
The single-file middleware we sketched out today prepares you perfectly for what comes next. Because while an in-memory cache is super handy for testing, our next lesson is going to cover replacing it with a durable Redis backend. That's going to allow for atomic token operations and persistent quota stores across multiple server instances. So, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. If a massive Web3 traffic spike hit your application right this second, is your API's VIP door just sitting there unguarded? Keep that in mind as you review your own infrastructure. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. To master the rest of this Web3 architecture and check out all our other incredibly informative learning resources, be sure to visit forge.college. I'll see you next time.